Welcome back to another episode of the Coffee Made Me Do It podcast. My name is Dario and I am fortunate to own Bluebird Coffee Roastery and host this podcast where we explore motivation and passion around coffee. And today is a big one. I'm sitting down with Luhle Mnyandu, part of my team and our head of Wholesale. Luhle just competed at the National Barista Championships and it didn't go according to plan. Spoiler alert, we're saying goodbye to competition for now at least. I hope you enjoy this episode. We unpack a lot and perhaps we can even start a conversation around competition and where it's headed. But enjoy, and here is Luhle. We are recording. Welcome to the podcast, Luhle.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, man. It's a bit funny because we just been working the whole day together.
Yeah. I didn't see much of you today, so
yeah, I was downstairs, you were upstairs.
Exactly.
Yeah. Both of us trying to hide from the cold.
Dude, I was not having a good time with the cold today.
Yeah, just kind of context. I don't know when this podcast will come out. I think pretty soon, but this week has been unbelievably cold. We're actually sitting in my living room at home because we have a fireplace which is roaring at the moment. And I mean, for our European listeners, we're going to sound pretty weak, I think, because we're in the middle of our winter. This is kind of like as cold as it gets. And I think we've had lows of like 3, highs of like 7 or 8, I think. Okay. So it's not that bad.
Could be worse.
It could be worse. I've been roasting. So I've been standing next to a warm roasting machine.
Nice. And
we're a person down in the roastery for the next couple of weeks. And it's been pretty full on. So yeah. For those of you who don't know, Luhle Mnyandu is our head trainer, but more importantly, our wholesale manager. And that involves managing key accounts, dealing with local and international inquiries, and guiding friends, new and old, through our menu and helping people get access to the best coffees for them. So, welcome.
Thank you.
We have just been, and the main topic for this podcast is going to be competition, barista competition to be specific. We don't actually have a Brewers Cup competition in South Africa. We don't have a roasting competition either, the like proper roasting competition where you can go to the Worlds and whatever. We only have barista champs. And this is our This is our 5th year competing as a roastery. Fani obviously taking a breather from competition this year, and I think he did 4 years in a row with some years before that, before joining Bluebird. And then you've been competing for 3 years in a row now. A 7th, a 4th, and a 5th now this last weekend. And yeah, we want to talk about what happened, how we're feeling about competition, the way forward, and maybe even start a conversation beyond this podcast. You know, maybe there's a forum where people can reach out to us directly, people who are thinking about competing, are competing, maybe experiencing something similar to what we've been experiencing. But we certainly aren't here to just like drop a bomb and run away, you know, and see what happens.
Yeah, it's an ongoing conversation.
Definitely. So I think to start things off, you competed this weekend. You had a set that was very close to your heart, very personal. Maybe you could just give our listeners an insight into what your competition set was about, assuming there's some understanding of what competition looks like for a barista competition already for our listeners.
Maybe I give a bit of context.
Yeah, a bit of context, and then talk about what you were aiming to achieve and what you spoke about.
Yeah, so for those who are not aware of what barista competitions are, like Dario said, there are multiple industry competitions that exist. There's Brewers Cup, which specifically focuses on filter brewing as a method of brewing coffee, and there's a competition for that. There's Cup Tasters, which is mostly or simply about your ability to taste coffee and its defects or lack thereof, or whatever the configuration is, but tasting of coffee. There's latte art, which is obviously a big part of visual appeal of the coffee space. your roasting and everything. But specifically here, we're talking about barista competitions, which is centered around drinks that a barista makes on the daily, like espresso and your milk drinks. So your flat whites, your cappuccinos, or whatever. There's a course specifically with pairing espresso and milk. And then there's a third course, which is slightly off of what you normally would do as a barista, which is a coffee mocktail course, which is called the signature beverage. So yeah, you're serving these three courses: espresso, milk drink, and a signature beverage in 15 minutes. Should you exceed 15 minutes during your set, you are
Straight to
penalized.
jail.
Straight to jail. Yeah, should you exceed 15 minutes, you are penalized for a point for each second. And should you go beyond 16 minutes, which is a whole minute of over the time, you are disqualified. That's just one of the many rules that exist and can happen. And you have a narrative that you are presenting to a panel of 4 judges. So you're making 4 drinks for each course and you are presenting a narrative. There's a technical scoring happening as well on how you prepare these drinks. A panel of 4 judges, the head judge and a technical judge that follows you around. And the whole crux of it is that your drinks taste good, down to how the score sheet wants that to look like, and you present an interesting narrative that is consistent throughout. I think that summarizes a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So like
context,
tasty drinks, and then describing them really well.
Yeah.
So that's always fun, and we enjoy that part of it. So I think, just like hearing you explain it, I think a nice format would be to maybe have an overview of your narrative.
Of course.
And then let's break down what we did in each course.
Yeah. So this year, took a narrative that was centered around this saying or call of action saying from my culture, which is KwaZulu, here in South Africa, where I'm from, and that is ukubuyela emasisweni, and that directly translates to returning to the source, so returning to the origin of something. And this is all centered around people who have possibly migrated to different parts of the world, that they must return to the values of our culture. So I borrowed that thinking or that philosophy, I guess, if you can call it that, into applying it into how I'm currently viewing coffee for myself, and what I like drinking and like consuming on the daily. And those are true coffee flavored coffees. And
so when you say true coffee flavored coffees, like we're talking a focus on terroir, focus on varietal, clean processing, roasted to highlight those characters, away from, nothing. We don't touch as a roastery anything infused, obviously, but even high intervention coffees in general, we just that's not what you were after here.
Exactly, and that was a reflection of what I like consuming. I really do prefer coffees with little interference of additional flavor, should natural or not, really. Because I guess one can argue like deeper fermentations still remain pretty natural to the processing of coffee. So there was the narrative that I was taking with this, and this has happened before. So I'm not in any ways I've coined the thinking or the conversation. It's an existing conversation that some have championed on stage. I can particularly think of someone like Patrick Rolfe, who's spoken about this in some of his sets, and it's a thinking that I've had for a while myself. So it felt fitting, and I wanted to present that. So there's reference online of the set for anyone looking to watch all of it. But to break it down for each course, what I did was actually normally people would start with espresso, follow with milk, and then end off with signature. But this time around, I flipped the order. So I introduced my set with the signature beverage first, which I created alongside an incredible person who's not in coffee. His name is Johannes Rechter, a very prominent chef here in South Africa, who I partnered with in terms of formulating this beverage. A huge culinary background, So that was a very, very cool thing to work on with someone of that skill set. And it was really cool to have someone speak about flavor, not in the context of coffee. And we could bounce off ideas and how that could pair well. And
What is the name of his restaurant?
the name of his restaurant is The Living Room at Sunning Hill in Durban, KZN.
One of the best in the country.
One of the best in the country. They might have been voted the best in the country at the Eat Out Awards, which is the local industry setting awards in the culinary space. So very, very cool, flavor progressive places to eat in the country. And yeah, Johannes had some really cool ideas. The brief I gave him was that I wanted to use sorghum in one way or another. And this is a grain that is used in making traditional Zulu beer, umqombothi. And because it was something that was going to fit so well with the narrative, and funny enough, I've never tasted traditional Zulu beer.
We're gonna have to make some now.
exactly. But I have an idea of the profile, and when I pitched this to him, it's like, oh, coffee and sorghum will be tricky to work with, and make any tasty drink out of it. But immediately his brain started going with some ideas. What we ended up was formulating this really tasty like flavor enhancer, which is a sorghum infused, ironically, amazake, which is a rice fermented drink, a rice fermented non-alcoholic drink, and it's supposed to have like this sweet umami flavor enhancer for anything that you might add. So again, the goal here was to highlight coffee flavor, so I did not want to exceed a certain threshold of ingredient in terms of the amount of ingredients I wanted to introduce into this beverage. So yeah, like 80 or 85% of the beverage was coffee, was espresso, which again, part of the rules, you need to have about 4 espresso shots in there. But that was not to be used as a minimum. It was actually the maximum contributor to the beverage. And we still created a really tasty, balanced, sweet,
Oh, it was beautiful.
like tasty drink. Yeah. So we had.
I'd happily have that on bar every day.
100%. And it's not overwhelmingly confectionery or anything like that.
No.
Yeah. So we had amazake in there. We had a pineapple juice to bring up the acidity. Made a coffee blossom syrup. Again, not a huge contributing element to it, just a tiny amount for the florality kick. But yeah, a really tasty drink. So that's what we did for signature, and they were served in these beautiful vessels that we created with a very talented ceramics artist. What do you call? Ceramicist. Yes. Her name is Ubaliwe. Very, very amazing artist. Super cool to work with. Yeah, she created these vessels with. So we wanted to have ukamba created for it to use as a pitcher. And then some cups that resembled the shape of ukamba that is typically used to drink umqombothi out of. And that was something I think was a huge part of driving the theme forward, because as much as there was a huge focus on the coffee, I really wanted to pair what I'm talking about with the coffee, but also with the cultural element in a way that works well and complements each other. And that piece drove a lot of, I think it rounded off the theme really well.
I agree. And I think that, as you said, it drove home the theme and created the cultural connection, just the way you serve the drinks, the vessels you use, and so on and so forth, together with the ingredients, and really opened the door for the conversation, which was returning to the source of what you feel true coffee flavor is all about. Clarity of flavor, and serving courses that we would love to drink. You then moved on to your milk course, and in the lead up to this competition, because there's so much to consider. The approach that I certainly had in my mind was to break the entire thing down into blocks. So the courses were blocks, the narrative was a block, the tech, even down to drinkware and cloths and so on and so forth, like take everything really seriously. And when it came to milk, you've got a bit of a reputation for being the milkman, because for the last three seasons, you've delivered some of the tastiest milk drinks at every competition you've entered. I mean, before arriving at nationals, you had to go through regionals where you won't say this, but I will. You smoked everybody at regionals in KwaZulu-Natal by like, I think it was like 50-point margin or something like that, which is just mega. Especially because it was only a 2-course competition, and milk played a big role there. You delivered, but for nationals, you kind of went beyond. Cryo desiccated milk. You had 4 different milks you were playing with, and playing with ratios and all kinds of stuff. What got you onto that? Like, I know other people have used cryo milks at Worlds. What was the appeal to you? What were you hoping to achieve with that?
The idea was to max out the scores, because a lot of it is centered around having an incredible taste experience with each drink. And the milk course, as of recent years, it's been a course that has been a huge highlight, whereas before I don't think it was. And that was with the rule change of having anything other than cow's milk. So people can now use alternative milks, and then people started playing around with techniques of concentrating the milks. I think Ben Putt was the person who kind of drove this whole conversation around concentrating what is great about milk, which is the fats and the sugars, what makes it sweet and what gives it the texture. And he did that with freeze distillation, and that's something that is, I think, it was snowballed into all these other techniques, and cryo desiccation is one of them. And the biggest appeal about that specific technique is how much it preserves the nutrients of the milk. So you're not necessarily altering too much of the structure of the milk, and there's a huge consistency with that. So as with freeze distillation, there's a preparation inconsistency that you can achieve that it is hard to track. So throughout your preparation, you might have a certain formulation of this milk that might change on the day because of different factors, travel, different milks, different whatever, storing conditions. Cryo desiccation was just really interesting from a consistency point of view, to have something that I know will taste like this now in 2 weeks, in 3 months, and apparently it has a shelf life of like 100 years or something. That was the biggest appeal, is its consistency. And we wanted to try it out because it's something we've never done. Did some research, found a company that does freeze drying, because a freeze dryer to own is, again, millions and millions and millions of rands. Not really, but very expensive for a single use like that.
Exactly.
So we reached out to this very cool company out in Cape Town that was super keen to help, and we shipped milk from the Midlands, which in hindsight, we probably could have not done that, but there was a narrative part to it. There was...
I mean, if you're going as far as what we were going, we weren't going to... the Midlands milk where we live, the cows are happier. They get a massage every morning.
It's a milk that we know and love.
And we know and love. They breathe like cleaner air.
Exactly. No, actually, you're right. I think that was a good call. So we froze the milk, put it in a container, like a fish tainer container, sent it down to Cape Town.
Dry ice and all.
And they delivered. Once that arrived, was playing around with ratios, with now reconstituting this powdered milk into a milk again, into a liquid milk again.
And I think the level of success you achieved there with the blend you created was extreme. I mean, the best example of that I can think of is actually just before leaving for Johannesburg. My kids, Lily and Luca, came around to the roastery, and they were prepped that you and I were tasting drinks before they arrived. So they don't drink coffee. They hate coffee, in fact. They're 7 and 4, so like we'll forgive them. And we're actually not encouraging it. They've got enough energy. But Lily came into the room, and I said to her, "Oh, Lil, come taste the strawberry milkshake," because that was like exactly what your milky was tasting like. And she took a sip, and she's she'll tell you how she's feeling. Like she'll taste something and tell you it's disgusting. She took a sip. She's like, "Wow, that's such a nice strawberry milkshake."
100%.
And I think that's probably the best descriptor for what that milky ended up tasting like with your beautiful geisha.
Yeah, she wasn't impressed with our Panamanian cupping yesterday, so
No, jeepers.
that means a lot coming from her.
She tasted some really expensive comp coffees, like comp level coffees on the table yesterday. Well, when I say some coffee, she tasted one coffee and then gave up on it. She's not going to mince her words. Eh?
Exactly. The milk course was tasting really good.
And it scored really well.
Scored really well. Taste experience was really high. Visual appeal was good from a technical standpoint.
3s for descriptors, which is great.
Got the descriptors down on point. The milk blend being consistent, I think, really helped with delivering on those scores, because we were quite familiar with the coffee when paired with milk and how it translates flavor-wise. I think that was pretty successful.
I think the SIG drink also scored pretty well.
Yeah.
And flavor descriptors
everything
as well.
could be higher and higher.
Of course.
But I'm sorry. So we were pretty happy with that. And again, that was a really cool part of the set where now I was introducing your work as the roaster of the coffee, and the work you had done to maintain the flavor clarity of true coffee flavor and preserving what the producer has worked on, which we will give context on who's the producer and what the coffee was. But this was the course that we were using to highlight roasting as a key pillar of achieving what we're looking to achieve here. Maybe you can tell us a bit more of how you approached roasting this year's cycle and what was the conversation. And
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we were working with such a great coffee, so we were fortunate to have access. We are fortunate to have access at all times to a deep list of like really, really good competition level coffees, beautiful Panama geishas, and great coffees from Ethiopia and obviously from Colombia. And this year we chose to work with a naturally processed geisha from Cerro Azul, produced by Cafe Granja La Esperanza in Colombia. And just to pause there for a moment, sending all our love and best wishes to everyone in Colombia who's been affected by the earthquake. And I know that the team at CGLE were affected quite badly, and our thoughts and prayers are with you guys. From a roasting perspective, for me, my sort of like obsession at the moment with roasting is very much what it always has been, which is to chase sweetness, but to chase sweetness without too much development. So I want clarity and sweetness. So what I did with this particular coffee is I roasted in the stronghold. For those of you who are listening who are roasters, maybe even roast on a stronghold. If you're interested, I'll just quickly run you through my technique. And basically started, I roasted 600 gram batches because we only had 2.5 kilos of this coffee. And I started with very low agitation, pretty high charge temperature, full, 10 out of 10 on the hot air. We've got a inverter system in our roastery, so all of our power runs through an inverter, and our voltage is completely stable. So we don't have issues on the stronghold that some other roasteries do, where our voltage dips and rises based on what's happening around us and power usage. So that's great, but lots of hot air, low agitation, no halogen, no drum heater, or like as low as it would allow me to go. And increased agitation slowly throughout the roast, giving the coffee a lot of time with the hot air, aiming for better inner bean development. And then a minute of post-crack development, which is quite long for me in the stronghold. We're normally roasting at like between 30 and 40 seconds of time after crack. But because this was specifically for espresso, we were aiming for a bit more development. But yeah, the batches that we chose to work with had only 1.5 degree increase in in temperature from crack to finish of the roast, maintaining that clarity, but the solubility was definitely up. The coffee extracted really, really well and had so much sweetness. It was unreal. So yeah, nothing groundbreaking, but very intentional to highlight those two, knowing what your set was about, highlighting clarity and highlighting sweetness. And the coffee tasted great. I mean, it was amazing. We roasted it 3 weeks before comp. Nitrogen flushed the bag, kept it out of the in the cool and out of out of the sun, obviously. And it was, the effort was worth it.
100%.
Yeah. So thank you very much to CGLE for the amazing coffees year after year, and this was a banger. It was a really, really good one. So yeah, once the milk course is served, you rolled into your espresso course, and this was really where you were. I would say that everything you had done was leading to this moment, which was to serve the coffee in its like most naked form, and we did quite a lot to make sure that coffee was tasting unreal in espresso. Talk us through it.
That was the build up. The whole intention of flipping around this the order of drinks was to ensure that we finish on espresso, where we are presenting coffee, like he's saying, in its most naked, undressed, like truest form, really. It's simply coffee and water, and in a concentrated form. So that was the intention. There was to present that beverage last, to showcase true coffee flavors once more, and then highlighting what the barista does. At the end of the day, there's a barista competition, and what the judges are looking for are to see what are your inputs. They want to know what the producer has done, what the roaster has done, what all these other contributing people and elements have done, but what is your work in formulating these drinks? And espresso was the best way to showcase that. So we had a few limitations, or just rules around nationals. We could only brew espresso at 92 degrees, which I'm pretty happy with.
9 bar of pressure.
9 bar of pressure, apparently.
With a very slow ramp on the Tempesta.
It just climbs and climbs until it gets there.
Almost there.
So almost there. 8.9 bar of pressure and 17 gram baskets, which is where I think is the biggest limitation is from like preparation of the drinks. But again, everyone can use the same baskets. So that's where we were geared up to serve the best espresso possible. And in preparation leading up, weeks prior, tasting these coffees at work, that was exactly what we were finding. We genuinely were tasting an espresso that was incredible.
The tactility. So just like from my perspective to let our listeners know what we did. I was so thrilled. I think one night late, I sent you a post from Scott Rao about the better vessels. You actually knew about them. I didn't. I had not seen them before. And I was like, holy crap, we can remove the crema. Like, I'm so into this, we hate crema. We've hated crema for a long time. It's just, as you said in your set, it's a nasty byproduct of high pressure brewing. But to me, it's like, it's unavoidable, but let's take it the heck off, It's like there will be Quakers in our roasting, but by using our Sovda, we can get rid of them. And now with the better vessel, we had the opportunity to remove that layer, which was great. So the impact was clarity for days. Sweetness was way, way, way up. We in the dial, we managed to like bring the acidity quite a long way down. And there was no bitterness. I mean, it was so low. Yeah, that's what we were tasting, and we're sticking with it, man. Judges didn't find the same thing.
Right, and dying by that. No, that was genuinely what the feedback internally was, and it can only be internally in the process of preparing, really. we were tasting a lot of sweetness, because that was my brief to you prior to even having the better vessels around. Prior to choosing a coffee, I was just like driving this narrative that, I mean, there could be a coffee that is objectively better than what we have. If the Sarah Azul is sweeter, Sarah Azul is the coffee.
Exactly.
Because
And we had some coffees in the roastery which, like, on
paper,
pure like scoring, they might have outscored the Sarah Azul.
not a comp.
Not a
Scoring
comp. No,
in the outside of comp.
Exactly, like green
space.
coffee scoring. Yeah.
No, 100%. So there were coffees that were obviously, like you said, privileged and fortunate position where we have variety of options. But this was the coffee where we found most sweetness. Once roasted and we were tasting, again, just further validated those thoughts that we had, that it is an incredibly sweet coffee. Why did we want a coffee that was incredibly sweet? The feedback I've had from past years, from coaches, people in the space of competition who have had success, but mainly judges' deliberation has been, we want a coffee that is sweet as the main trait of its quality, and it's balanced.
Yeah. Low acidity, ideally.
A low acidity, ideally, low bitterness, ideally, and sweetness being the driving trait, with balance. So sweet and balanced is essentially the mandate, and that's exactly what we tried to achieve here. In preparation, we're getting a lot of that, even more so with the help of the better vessel, where you're removing something like crema that will have bitter compounds. So once you're removing that, bitterness is lowered immediately, and you want sweetness in its most pronounced form. You're removing crema. Sweetness is a lot more readily available when tasting. So the better vessels were a joy in trying to achieve what we were trying to achieve and using them.
And I'm stoked to have them now.
100%.
I'm never drinking crema again.
A crema-filled espresso. Shout out to the crema lovers out there.
Yeah, if you want that thick crema, man, we back you. Like, have fun with that.
I might create a product out of that. Just remove all the crema and sell a crema on the side.
We definitely have some cafe customers who would like some extra crema on their espresso.
It's an optional extra from now on. But yeah, so that was the I guess the piece that we were just going towards.
I remember saying to you the day before, like, okay, so SIG, we need to just like tweak a few things from round 1 to round 2. Yeah. Milk is tasting amazing. We were worried about how the coffee was cutting through the milk, though, because it was quite sweet and overpowering. We changed the ratio. We changed the ratio and we improved on that. And with espresso, I was like, this is the best espresso that I've ever tasted. And I think that you're going to have the top espresso score this competition, because I can't imagine how someone's gonna top it. And we scored 2 out of 6.
Yeah, a couple of 2s, a couple of 2.5s.
Hey, shout out to the 2.5s, man.
Holding me down. But yeah, so yeah, let's talk about what we described. I think so. We obviously had a recipe at backstage. So prior to competing, you have about an hour to prep backstage and taste your drinks. And again, we went into it with, let's make the espresso we made yesterday better. So what can we do? Can we add 5 grams of extra water, 0.5 grams of extra coffee that could give us more sweetness or whatever? Let's try different options. And we did exactly that. And backstage, I think we were all in agreement that, okay, this is tasting really good. This is what we're taking on stage. These are the descriptors we're saying on stage, and it had medium high sweetness, and medium low acidity, and low bitterness is what we are tasting. And I'm sure I brewed at the exact same variables what we tasted backstage. On stage, because yes, there is the possibility that you're prepped backstage, you go on stage, something goes wrong, your shots actually brew incredibly fast, and you end up serving that. So with that mega change, you will not probably deliver on the descriptors, you will not deliver on the promise of the high sweetness that you're tasting backstage, or whatever the case may be. So there is a possibility of that happening. It has happened to me before. It's probably happened to some competitors this weekend. But this time around, I was pretty happy with my dial. It was exactly where I wanted it.
And we tasted the drinks after.
Tasted the drinks after, and they were
Bang
pretty much
on.
where we wanted to be. But yeah, essentially, just it did not translate what we wanted. Did not translate to the judges, and
I think the irony of the whole thing is that, you know, your whole set was around, guys, we've got to be careful that we aren't allowing these hyper processed coffees to take away from the essence of specialty coffee. There's a place for them. Sure, we're not saying that they shouldn't exist. I mean, elsewhere, not in our roastery, but they shouldn't exist. But the irony is that I think, you know, without tasting everybody's coffee, just from descriptors and from what we know from roast styles, etc., like the darker, funkier coffees did really, really well, and like the kind of, you know, cleaner coffees didn't score very well. Yeah. So I think, you know, we can deliberate all day on you know, the judge's approach and that kind of thing. But I think, you know, from my perspective, for the last 5 years, we've put a lot of effort into competition. You know, when the comp cycle comes around, both you and Fani are very competitive. I'm extremely competitive as a person, but I don't have any desire to compete in competition, in coffee competition specifically. I've competed in sports all my life, and I compete every day in the marketplace as a business owner. But I've always been there to support your guys' dream, and I get so invested I can't even watch the sets, you know. And it's been kind of heartbreaking year after year to receive like such similar feedback from people. The number of people I had come up to me saying like, you know, and this is so kind-hearted, but it's
hard to hear.
It's hard to hear, like the number of people who came up and were like, "Oh, Luhle's won it." Like it's a done and dusted thing. Obviously, they didn't get to taste the drinks, but the way you present yourself and the set that you brought to the table was so compelling and so beautiful. And if you would like to watch it, if you're listening to this and you'd like to watch it, go to Skaza's Instagram page and you'll find it there.
SCASA.
Exactly. You did really well, dude. So like really well done. I'm so proud of you. Like as a friend and as the owner of the company that you're representing, I couldn't have been prouder of you. And I think the result that you got does not reflect the effort that has been going in over these years, and has definitely, you know, the same result after year. Just for context, like I think we've had a third, 2 seconds, fourth, fifth, a win at semi-finals a couple of years ago, the Fawns, and the feedback we've been getting has been so frustrating year after year. The goalpost keeps moving, and I think I won't name judges, but like there was a judge a few years ago, an international judge who came out, and her feedback to us after the event was, guys, that coffee would have scored so well in Europe, but it's just not going to win in South Africa. And then the South African champions win on coffees that score well here. They go to Worlds and they tank. You know, we haven't had anyone make semi-finals yet for a long time, ever. And I know that you are cringing at me calling it out, but it is what it is, man. Like those are the numbers. Like no one's ever made semis, and it's not from a lack of effort. You know, I think it's just that we haven't. Like if locally we aren't rewarding what's going to be rewarded internationally, how would we ever be able to prep for international competition?
Yeah, setting ourselves up. Yeah, I think my biggest frustrating part of it is being in a place where if we are not in agreement what a trait like sweetness is in coffee, and where there's not a clear line that we can't overstep. You know, for example, in something that in training baristas, new baristas, we speak about sweetness as a flavor trait, and I always drive this idea that when I talk about sweetness in coffee, it's an inherent coffee sweetness, nothing artificial, nothing added on, but just simply the natural sweetness. And I feel like that line is just widening or further straying away, and just there isn't a line at all, almost. Whereas I think yeah, the more and more we reward confectionery sweetness in coffee as opposed to coffee sweetness, coffee sweetness will no longer be a thing, and I feel like it's almost becoming that in the
Yeah.
in the feedback. You know, when a coffee like that I'm looking at, I'm like, that is an incredibly sweet coffee. The sweeter it gets is if I add something to it.
100%. I mean, a few years ago, Fani competed with two coffees. He had a Sudan Rame from Las Margaritas, and he had a, I think it was Thai Oxy, if I'm not mistaken, from Finca Soledad. And again, I think he finished third, if I'm not mistaken. And the winning coffee, a friend of mine won the competition. And if you're hearing a dog in the background, it's because there's Stella's chilling on the couch, man. But she just had a little shakeout. So, but the coffee that won, we actually got to taste it, and we were like, okay, so like if we tasted that on a cupping table, like I would have said borderline defective, like borderline, over fermentation and like defect. But it scored well here because I guess it's kind of interesting. And when I was in El Salvador a few years ago at PRF, I remember having a conversation with a few coffee buyers. There was a bit of like a bidding war happening over one particular coffee that was tasted in the cupping room that morning. And one of the people I was talking to is a Q grader, and he was saying that it's so funny because 5 years ago that exact cup of coffee would have been rejected as defective because of like uncontrolled fermentation or like damaged coffee basically from the fermentation process. But now it's being celebrated as the best cup on the table because it's so weird and interesting and funky and whatever. And I guess the whole point of your set was to say, beware.
Yeah, it was centered around the true fear of, and I think of a direction of coffee competitions and coffee in general going a certain way, and I think coffee competitions are a direct reflection, and that's where I have a fear of even partaking now. But yeah, I've only competed in an area where those coffees are celebrated and enjoyed. So I wasn't part of coffee competitions when the transition happened.
Yeah.
So it's just been interesting that you go into coffee competitions and you're preparing for that. And in your mind, you're already thinking about a coffee that will score really well, but it's not a coffee that you enjoy drinking. And that's something I've had to do in past cycles because I'm just thinking to myself, I have to give myself a shot to win.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
do really
We're not
well.
doing it for fun.
Not doing. I want to win and represent at Worlds and whatnot. But this year was different, whereas the narrative would not allow me to do that. It forced me, and I wanted to be forced to present a coffee that is true, and maybe not objectively the sweetest on the table and whatnot, but I did my utmost best to make sure that it is in technique and in brewing technique. But yeah, I guess again it does not translate, which is for me a wake up call. Like, okay, this is where the direction is at with coffee competitions locally and potentially globally. Really, if you're being honest, it's a coffee competition thing. There's
But
a
I mean, we have
recipe.
seen some like washed geishas doing well at Worlds,
Yeah.
and which is exciting to see.
It's quite reassuring to see that happen. But yeah,
So I got a message. To their credit, I got a message from one of the new Skaza board members, and basically just saying like, we're happy with the feedback that you got. Obviously, not the result you were looking for, and my feedback to them was, yes, we're happy with the feedback, but probably not in the way that Skaza would think. We're happy because it feels like a definitive door closing, at least for now. It feels like if we put this much work in and present coffees that we could not imagine being better and then being outscored, nothing against, the people who beat you in the competition, but like, I saw some of the coffees and they were like, dog, dude, I definitely, am aware of how coffee is being roasted by various roasters around the country. I get sent coffee and given coffee all the time, and obviously we color test everything, so we have a pretty good like reference point to where everyone is, and it's much darker than what we would have liked to present. So my feedback was like, yeah, the feedback from the judges was great because it helps us to close the door on this chapter and move on from competition. So, if you've been sitting through this podcast wondering where it's going, well, I think as far as I'm concerned, until I have a staff member who is knocking on my door saying, hey, I really want to compete, can you support me? I have no interest in being involved in competition, and I haven't really for a few years now. Watching Fani go through the heartbreak of not winning and getting so close time after time, it was like devastating to go through that as a team. We take it really personally because we we don't actually see much benefit in being like local champions. It's all about getting to Worlds, and only first goes to Worlds. So if we're not getting that done, then for me it's like, we haven't achieved what we came to do. What I didn't know coming into the cycle is you had already made up your mind around your view on comp and how you were feeling prepping now. And so what are your thoughts, Brew?
I had to be fair, as going all the way back to last nationals, in my head I was almost convinced that I wasn't too keen to compete for a while. So this past cycle I had planned to skip until I had the narrative come up, because
like a week before regionals.
a week before regionals, almost about, until the narrative came around in my head, and I was just like, okay, I have to give this a shot. I was convicted around this thought, and I knew if I didn't do it this cycle, I probably will not have the appetite to then do it after that. But that thinking prior to even having this idea and narrative to want to present this year was looking at coffee competitions as something that's incredibly rigid in the way it's scored, and a bit outdated. It's like, why are we still scoring crema?
Yeah,
Again,
exactly.
shout out to the crema lovers out there, but
I don't know if we've ever got crema points.
I think I have, like, a one regionals or something. But yeah, why are we still scoring crema? Why are we doing that? Why are there these random, I guess, these service rules around the rules with napkins and teaspoons and, professionalism, wearing an apron. Yeah, baristas don't really wear aprons like that these days. But you know what I mean? Just these random little things that formulated this revelation in my head of just like, this is a bit corny.
Hey man, you said it, not me.
No, but hear me out though.
No, I'm agreeing with you, man.
But I partake in the corniness, right? I am a contributor. I'm corn master myself.
Bro, I know you're going to explain your thoughts, but like I was listening to a Travis Barker interview yesterday on a podcast, and he was talking about like guarding his children, and they've got a documentary dropping tomorrow, which I'm super excited about. But he got a call from his son Landon, who's a singer. He's a musician, he's a singer, and he got contacted by The Voice. And I'd heard the name before. I don't know. It's a singing competition, I believe, on TV. Mm-hmm. So he's like, Dad, I've been asked to come on The Voice, and he was like quite excited about it. And Travis is like, Nah, Landon, like, dude, like, you're way too cool for The Voice.
If The Voice is a competition I'm thinking about, it's where the judges sit facing the audience and someone sings behind them, and it's based on what they hear for the judges to turn around, and then they become like, they get assigned to this artist, and then all the judges have these competitors ahead of the competition. So to get through, they need to hear your voice, and then they buzz this thing and then turn around in a spinning chair. So it's literally like televised corniness.
Come on, bro, like spinning chairs, let's go.
Actually, get judges spinning chairs, maybe it'll be better. But yeah. And I want to contextualize the corny statement, right?
Yeah.
For anyone listening, what am I trying to say by it's corny? It's I just do think there's a better way of having I don't know. Maybe I need to provide a solution on coffee competitions or not. I can see the problem and someone else can find a solution. Not my problem.
Well, Barista League is doing some stuff.
Exactly.
And like, there are
solutions. There are alternatives, right? But I think there's a better way that we can communicate coffee flavor and innovation around coffee than the current structure of this 15-minute 3-course over exaggerated speech and I don't know, almost just like scripted interaction between a competitor and a judge, because outside of this 15 minutes, some of us are friends and some of us are industry colleagues, and this is not how we talk to each other. No. But for 15 minutes, I need to treat you as, I need to butter you up.
Well, credit to you. You sound like yourself when you're on stage.
Fair.
So, like, really credit to you for not, like, changing personalities, voice, like, accent. I've heard that.
Yeah. Yeah, there's just a lot of put on, and it's my whole set, again, the way I structured everything, or the way I spoke on things, was to make sure that I stick true to what I want to say.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, so overall, I've found myself doing the preparation of it, and I'm like, oh, I don't like the sound of that. That sounds weird. That sounds corny. That sounds, and I've seen other people present. I'm like, at the crux of it, it's just, this is weird. What are we actually doing here?
And the posturing.
It's
like the amount of ego and it's wild in the competition space.
The space as well. Prior, you walk in and it's like, oh, we are here to get each other. And I think it was Patrick Rolfe who said this a couple of years ago. It's like it's just a coffee competition, right? And it really is. This is not the highlight. This is not, well, maybe it is for some, but like it's never that deep. I hate that term, but it's really never that serious. It's serious, but not that serious.
I've started writing like a year ago, maybe longer. I wrote what is an almost finished zine. There will be a bunch of zines coming out at some point in my future, and it's called Welcome to Hell, but Hell's crossed out and replaced with espresso because espresso is so hard. Anyway, makes more sense when you see the cover. It might be stupid. I might rename it, but there's a section in it where I write like, no matter how good you get at making espresso, it's still just espresso. 100%. You're not cool. Like, that doesn't make you cool, because like we have like industry people walk into our cafe and like start telling our staff how they want their espresso brewed, and like with so much arrogance and whatever. And it's like, dude, it doesn't make you cool. Like, thinking that you know how to do that. What is cool is that on the same weekend as this barista competition, 54-year-old Kelly Slater came back into the surf world with a new hip, two young children, and went and completely smashed people at Chopes in like some of the gnarliest heavy conditions. That's one of the greatest sporting achievements in the world. That's cool.
I think winning a barista competition is cool too.
Yeah, because then you become famous.
Yeah, of course.
I'm joking.
Go on press runs, right? But I think that's cool. Yes, for sure. Winning, and again, I partake in it because there's elements of it that I do find cool and interesting, and it was an opportunity to again have people's attention for that 15 minutes and beyond that, in conversations, in the debriefs around what we are thinking about coffee, what coffees we're buying, and
exactly,
etc. So I think there's a lot of elements around it that are very cool, but the structure of it, the way people conduct themselves in these rooms, and I'm just like, it's not that deep. And when I told myself that prior to going into it, this is the least nervous I've gone into competition ever.
Yeah, you were super chilled.
I was, because I think it was a realization of just like, regardless of what happens, It's not. I'm still very competitive. I still want to do really well. Every single day I was visualizing winning. That was a big fire going of like, I'm going there to deliver the best set possible. And I did exactly that.
You versus you, bro.
Me versus me, for real. Always. Shout out. And yeah, so as soon as I told myself it's not that deep, it was just like, okay, now I can relax. Now I can joke around with my family 5 minutes prior to going on stage. I don't need to stand there, look stressed, so they look stressed. And now we're all stressed. And I'm like, why are we stressing over a flat white and an espresso? And yes, there's real consequences, because we invest a lot of time. You as a business owner, you've invested a lot of money and resources and time on top of that around these competitions. So there's real effort and real consequences around these things. So that is true, and that's why we wanted to work so hard on the result.
Absolutely.
To get the result. But at the core of it, it's also just like we can treat it as what it is. It's just another weekend of competing, and then more real work happens before that and after.
My view on it used to be that, the competition period would kind of like, sorry, we bumped the table. The competition period would focus us. Like we'd get obsessed over one thing. Like this time, I reckon like the milk was really cool. Like to actually, because we would never have spent the money to get 17 liters of milk, shipped down to Cape Town to go and get cryo-desiccated for any other reason. So like that's cool. That comp pushed us to do that, to experiment and all of that. But I feel like almost a bit disingenuous now saying that like competition forces us to get better. It forces us to focus on, improving as coffee professionals, because the things I'm obsessed with when it comes to coffee, we aren't allowed to do in coffee competitions. Not allowed to do, but you're not pulling turbo shots in a competition. You're not presenting like filter roasts through the espresso machine at 6 bar with a slow ramp and, 88-degree water. You just can't do that. So actually, it's not pushing my view of espresso forward. It's all my skill sets around espresso forward. I think it's very much like forcing, as you said, a very rigid set of like rules and stuff like that on an industry that's changing fast, man. Like we are, the industry is evolving beautifully. Like, I mean, Motors Coffee in Paris are doing Motor Spros now. Like, I don't even fully understand what the hell that is, and I can't wait to get there later this year to go and taste it, because the last time I had something kind of weird from Motors, it was like the best espresso of my life. And yeah, I think that there's so much room for experimentation and all of that outside of competition.
And there's so much more room to create, have prominent figures in coffee that aren't competitors as ambassadors. Like I don't think that should be where we look for ambassadors only. There's
Agreed.
a lot of other people and a lot of other spaces in different ways in which you could be a representative of the coffee topic other than competition. And I think for the longest time, I thought for myself as a career in coffee was, if I'm successful in coffee competitions, my voice can matter more and more and more as I succeed more and more.
Like a credibility
thing. And I've just realized, well, not really. I don't think that has to be the one and only way.
No, definitely
if anything,
not.
It could be the least way, because like you mentioned the other day, it's quite fleeting. So, in 10 years' time, no one will care.
Dude, I have no idea who won like Barista Champs 10 years ago.
At Worlds, locally and at Worlds. Who won 2016? Someone in the crowd will comment, this person.
Exactly. And they were probably amazing. Like, don't get me wrong,
Yeah,
they were probably
100%,
amazing.
100%.
And yes, barista competitions have been career makers for some people. They've been a launch pad for other people. We do so many things, man. We've got so much cool stuff going on. It's something that is almost a distraction for us at this stage. So I'm so stoked that you've come to the
Yeah.
conclusion that you don't want to compete.
Yeah, the preparation part
Yeah.
as well. Spend late nights, early mornings. It's quite time consuming and draining, especially when you get slapped at a five place.
Yeah,
Or
bro.
slapped at that
When you
fifth
got caught up at
place.
5th place, I was like, oh,
It was actually
Wow.
I mean, listen, look, I probably sound like an entitled brat, right? But it's fine. I don't care. So when fifth was getting called in my head, because I prepare for the worst case scenario. So when sixth is getting called, or round one actually, when finals getting called, I'm like, I'm not gonna get called. Watch this, like, I'm not gonna get called. And then they announced the five, it was a random draw, the five for finals, and there was last spot left. I was like, yep, I'm not getting called. Then I get called. Then I'm happy. Next day, when sixth was being announced down to one, at sixth, I'm like, that's me. And then it was someone else. And then at fifth, I was like, yep, that's me. And then it was me. I was like, yep, I was right. Because I just prepare for like the worst case scenario, so I can react. Because again, I don't take losing really well, typically. But I think I did well this weekend.
Yeah, you did.
I put on a fake smile. But last year, there's pictures, I looked mad.
Sure.
But yeah, so it's just, I find it funny now, looking back. So yeah, like the time and everything in preparation to not get rewarded, not that I deserve more than others. Like everyone would have worked hard for their set and done a lot of work and everything. But yeah, the idea for me is to at least the quality of work is reflected in the results. And that's not the case. And I was just like, well, I don't have to put myself in that situation anymore. That time could be better used in my own personal time, for like the time I have outside of work hours. Work hours could be maximized working on way more cooler, important work.
Exactly, man.
Yeah,
we got
competitions are cool.
We got 1,000,001 events to get to internationally and locally, and we got some serious stuff to do.
100%.
So I think to wrap this one up, toodaloo, motherfuckers. I'm joking.
It's the earliest retirement I've ever seen.
For now, Bluebird is stepping back from barista competition, and we hope to see change. We hope to see a South African do well at Worlds one day. And if your dream is to work for Bluebird and compete in competitions, come work for Bluebird if you're the right person, and we'll still support you. You'll still get 100% from me personally. But right now, Fani's not competing, Luhle is not competing, I ain't competing.
Yeah.
So let's go. And
super happy to lend any advice, any help in anyone's preparation.
I would love to work with an international competitor, someone who's like, and we've had requests, but I would love to roast coffee, source and roast coffee for somebody in like a progressive country where like light coffee's scored well, and I'm not saying that we can do better than your local roaster, but I think
Probably can. I'm kidding.
well, I'm the roaster, so I can't say it for myself. You can say it.
Yeah.
But man, there's very few. I always like kind of think to myself like, outwork us, I dare you, because that's the one thing I'm not prepared to. Well, I'm not worried about saying is that like I'll work harder than anyone around me, and I think that's been a huge part of the success that we've had so far. And it will carry us into the future, man. We've got some beautiful projects, like to focus on the positives. We've got some great collab stuff happening at the moment. And we have some really cool travel lined up, loads of international stuff. And we got coffee at Darcy's at the moment in Copenhagen, which is amazing. One of those like world-renowned cafes we've dreamed of working with for a long time. With Coffee Back in the Dayglow subscription. Obviously Sweet Spots, just amazing. And I've received a pretty like straight email from Marcus today, the owner of Sweet Spots, and like calling me out on a couple of things that only he and I can really talk about. And I really just appreciate where we are as a business, and the friends and customers we have in the industry. And in my mind, I'm just like, oh Yes, we close chapter onwards and upwards. We don't have like a few months of the year to get distracted and stressed, and we can just focus on building. Yeah. Any closing thoughts, like Skaza, anything, like if someone, I don't know if anyone's going to listen to this, you know, in the local scene, we don't hold grudges, man. We just like, we've just been realistic. Like what we like is not liked, you know, so it's all good.
Yeah, exactly. It's, again, we're not coming from an entitled place. I'm not, at least. I'm not mad or anything. And if anyone has a problem with anything that I've personally said or you have said, the DMs are open. Let's engage. Let's
100%.
talk. Yeah.
Also, can I just point out 2 women in the finals this year?
Shout out.
That is epic. So good to see. 3 people of color.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, which is amazing. Just really good to see like a proper representation of South Africa on stage, which is very cool.
100%.
So that's a very positive step in the competition space.
There's a lot of young competitors.
Yeah.
So I think from a future of South African coffee competitions, and again, I really hope the direction it takes is progressive over the next couple of years. And I genuinely think there's a lot of like amazing competitors out there. A lot of first-time competitors. I mean, I think Kayleen finished third.
Jesus, she was amazing.
And she was incredible. So yeah, I think the future is amazing. Yeah.
Exciting times, man.
If you're offended, I don't care. I really don't. That's the thing, though.
No. I'm with you, man. I'm with you.
Don't.
I'm with you. I think
really
I'm so
before anyone
over
comes
it.
attacking on my personal DMs, just consider the fact that I don't care. Then you can come.
Then you can come, man. Then you can come. Like, yeah, I agree with you. I really, everyone gets to make their own decisions.
Exactly.
We decided to compete. Now we're deciding not to. Our reasons are that it's just not doing it.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Sweet. Bye. Thanks for listening, guys. I know that might have been a bit of a controversial one, and if you are sold out to competition, we don't want to deter you from chasing that dream, but our experience has been our experience, and we just wanted to share it freely and openly. I'm really excited about this season of the Coffee Made Me Do It podcast. I have some amazing guests lined up, and I can't wait to start sharing more of these episodes with you. We've got Lewis from DAC coming up. We've got Tim Wendelbo coming up. We've got potentially Scott Rao on board, and so many others. Marcus from Sweet Spot, of course, and so on and so forth. Let us know if there's someone you would like us to reach out to and set up a call. I just love speaking to people about what fires them up. Coffee fires me up, this fires me up, and I hope you enjoyed this, and we'll see you in the next one. Ciao.